All right, so now we're going to get ready to tie another fly for the trip to Texas. And it's going to be another Seducer. It's going to be a red and white hackle fly. We're going to use some red hackle and some white hackle. And this is a very old color combination and an old pattern. Been around forever. And if you go into any saltwater anglers tackle box, conventional anglers tackle box, you go into their tackle box, they're going to have some plugs or some top water with a white body and a red head. Guarantee it. Especially on the East Coast and then the Gulf of Mexico. There will be some red and white plugs in their tackle box. So we're going to start off like we did before. Going to use some white thread on this one. That's 6/0. What do I have? Do I have a heavier white thread? Yeah, we got some white thread right here. Flat wax nylon Dansville. I think there's enough on there to tie a fly. You know what? I'm not going to use white. I'm going to use red. Because the front half of the fly is going to be red. So we're going to use red on this fly for thread. So I'm putting the thread base down. Starting at the front, going to the back. Stopping about there. Grab my scissors. I need to come back in and fill that right there where the eye of the hook meets. I need to fill that little gap in, but I will do that later. So I'm going to start with my white hackle. Like we said before on the other Seducer or hackle fly, this thing does not have to be specific. You don't have to use this nice hackle either, a whole cape. You could use strung hackle for this just as easy. It does not matter. And like I said, I've had these things get kind of ratty looking and they still work. So don't worry if it gets a little chewed up over the course of time. So I'm going to take 4 hackles here. 2 and 2. They're about the same size. I'm using number 2 hook. I talked to Ty, and he's using 2s and 4s. They don't use real big hooks like they use in Louisiana. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got next one. I don't need 5. I don't like the way that one looks. So I'm going to take these 4. 3 of them are about the same length. This 4th one's a little bit longer, but we can work with that. So here's my little thing of water. Gonna run my feathers through my water. You notice I'm keeping my scissors in my hand. I put them down a few times, but try to keep them in my hand as much as I can. Alright, this one, I'm going to splay the feathers out. See how those curve that way? I want to find some that curve the other way. I'm going to make these frog kicker looking legs. So they curve that way. So I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to look for another 4. 1, 2, 3. Does that look okay? Yeah, I think that looks okay. There's 4, if I can count. I think I can still count. I don't know. I have computers now that do everything, so you don't even have to count anymore. These are better as far as matching length. I'm going to hand stack these a little bit. Yeah. There's probably some people cringing that I'm using a nice cape for this instead of saddle hackles. You can use either one. But I like to make a good looking fly, if I can. Things are sticky. So you'll see when I put these together, they're wet, but you'll see when they dry, these things will kick apart like frog legs. But when they're wet, they lay together. And don't worry, when they're in the water, they flare in the water, they kick in the water. So we got one shank, two shanks. What do you think? Two shanks? Maybe we'll flip that over so they point up. Alright, so now we're going to do our pinch wrap again. Pinch the thread, pull it down. I do think when you go to snug it up, pull it from the bottom to the top and not top to the bottom. Pinch the thread, snug it down a little bit, bring it around, pull it up from the bottom. See, those things will spin if you're not careful. Like I said, I've been doing this for years and I still have to finagle these things. What do we think? Think that looks good? Think that'll work? Go around twice. Got all this mess to cut off. Alright, let's get this all straightened back up again. I should have cut those off before. I'm going to go under my feathers one time to help them stay up. Those things are still trying to roll. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put some more wraps. Get those things locked in good. Wrap, 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 wrap. There you go. This is easier to do later in the day when you're awake. Watch the point of your hook. I'm going to put a half hitch in here. I'm not going to glue that little bunch of feathers, but I'm just going to half hitch it. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Yep, there we go. Get my thread back up. Get my hook back on my scissors back in my hand. Let's smooth this out a little bit. A little white bump right there. I don't like that. Doesn't really make a difference. But I think it looks better. Alright. So I got our tail on. Alright, so flash. I think I'm just going to use some white or pearl flash. I've got some fluorescent flash, which I don't think, just knowing the natural colors they use in Texas, I don't think fluorescent flash or that kind of glowy stuff is necessary. I think I'm just going to go with some pearl white. Nothing fancy. Plain old pearl. A couple strands. I want it a little bit longer than the tail, so it has a little movement out past the tail. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to fold this over because I'm too lazy to cut it. I'm going to slide that down. I'm going to be very careful where I slide it down. I'm going to wrap that in. So there's my flash, and I got some stuff sticking out here, which is okay because I got a little extra, and this crazy looking one over here, I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to cut these at different lengths. So they put flash at different lengths of the fly. That one's a little crazy looking. Maybe I'll cut that one off there. Still a little crazy looking. Crazy. Alright, I'm going to wrap that up like that. I'm going to bring this forward, hit that gap, bring that back a little bit more, give me a little purchase. Cover that hook shank with the thread, give me a little purchase. So I'm done with my white hackle. Easy enough. I'm going to put that white hackle away in the bag. That's exciting. I know. Put that over on the bin. Get my red hackle. Red. And like I said, there's been more red and white plugs, minnow plugs, topwater plugs. There used to be an old red and white daredevil spoon. They fished for northern pike back in the day. There's been a lot of red and white conventional lures thrown. And this red and white will work on largemouth bass and spotted bass and smallmouth bass and sea trout, redfish. Work about on anything. Snook, tarpon, lizardfish. I mean, who doesn't want to catch a lizardfish, right? I mean, come on. The epitome of sport fish is the lizardfish. That is one ugly fish. We're going to do the same. We're going to stroke the barbs out. Get them about even. How exciting is this? We're going to trim that off. Hopefully that hurricane that's down by Cuba is not going to create too many problems for me when I go out to Texas this weekend. All right. So we're gonna. I want this body to be a little thick. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie in 2 hackles. Now the thing about when you tie stuff in the back of the hook, whatever you want to wrap last, you tie in first. So if you're tying a woolly bugger and you want to wrap the wire after the feather, you tie the wire in, then tie the feather in, then you wrap you palmer the feather, the hackle, and then you can come behind that with the wire. But since I'm using 2 reds, it really doesn't matter what I tie in first or second. That looks a little weird. All right. I'm going to tie this one in. Take the thread to the front. Take the thread to the front. Put my scissors down for a minute, put a 1/2 inch in here. Even though people say you don't need to, take my thread over, put it on the bobbin hanger. Can you see that with that plate? That little blue plate is to help you see while you're tying. Some people just take a whole piece of colored paper and put it back here. Either way, it does help, I think, because, you know, I got all these storage boxes and all this other junk. So I know it's a gadget, but I think it's a good gadget. So what I'm looking for now are my hackle pliers that are right here in front of my face. If it had been a snake, it would have bit you. So I'm going to put my hackle pliers on my hackle, thus the name Hackle Pliers. And once again, like I said, having a vise that rotates is really nice. Doesn't have to be a rotary vise, but just a vise that you can turn around. My little travel vise turns. It's not rotary, but it does spin around. And see my thread. My thread is kind of crawling backwards. It's wrapping back. It's kind of getting in the way. Don't like that. Don't like that. I'm going to bring that thread forward. Probably I'm spinning the vise in the wrong direction because I'm spinning it this way, which is unwinding my thread. You really should spin it the same way to tighten your thread. Maybe that's why I have to put a 1/2 inch in. I palmer my feathers hackle the wrong way. Could be. Could be. And really what you should do here is get the slack back out of your bobbin. You want to keep your bobbin closer to your hook. That gives you better control. So you're not throwing it all over the place like I was a minute ago. Don't do as I do. Do as Lefty and Bob says. They have good DVDs out. Alright. I think that's going to be good on this one. So I'm going to come up here and very gently snip the feather and not snip my thread, because that would be bad. Yep. Snip that off. I'm just trimming up this excess hackle a little bit. I laugh because the little barbs that I have them trim off around this eye of the hook kind of remind me of hair growing out of your ear. That happens when you get old. I don't know why that is. That when you get older as a man, you turn into a camel. You got hair growing out your nose and your ears and everywhere else, but not out your head. It is a cruel thing. So I'm going to put the second feather in. I'm going to try not to mash down the first feather with the second feather. So if I spin it this way, if I spin it this way, my thread is getting tighter around the hook, not unraveling from the hook. So spinning the handle towards me is what I want to do. And there, see, spin it this way, the thread got tighter and tighter, and then the thread fell off, but that's okay because it stayed tight on the hook. And why is that like that? I don't know. All right, so now we're going to tie this second hackle off. A few wraps behind, a few wraps in front. Snip the feather without cutting your thread. That would be bad. And Lefty Cray can do this like in just seconds on his videos. He's like done in just hardly no time. Ow. Watch the hook point. No time whatsoever. I am not that fast. And his red and white hackle flies look really good. Mine look okay. They catch fish, that's all I care about. They get chewed up and they catch fish. Now I'm gonna build a little head on here. I could put a set of eyes in here. I could put a weed guard in here. Probably a weed guard would be a good idea because there's a lot of grass where I'm going to. But I'm lazy. If there's a lot of grass, I'm going to use a bend back, which I'm going to tie a couple of those for y'all. Yeah, that don't look too bad. That right there, you go to any saltwater fisherman's tackle box, and he'll have a topwater or a subsurface with a white body and a red head. I guarantee it. I don't care. I've seen people catch redfish like that. I've caught redfish on those before I started fly fishing. Redfish, sea trout, flounder, stripers. I think I'll do a whip finish. Get out of my way. Snook, tarpon, bluefish. I saw a guy here locally. I was fishing a clouser, Mickey Flynn clouser, yellow and red. And I got cut off by a couple bluefish, and he had on a big minnow plug, white with red body, and he pulled in bluefish close to 10 pounds just down the creek from where I was. I didn't have any wire. I was just fishing for stripers. If I had some wire, I could have landed a couple bluefish on my 7-weight after they busted my knuckles a couple times, which that happens too. All right, so that don't look too bad. That'll catch a fish. I'm going to snip that off. Now, one thing I do, not like this is, some huge secret or anything. Before I cut my thread, I pull down and put a little tension on it. And then I cut it. And then it kind of coils up. Don't ask me why. But I put that tension on it, and then I cut it, and then it kind of pulls up and makes a shorter cut. So take that for what it's worth. All right, put your thread up. All right, so I've been using the UV stuff. Well, let me get my UV light. My UV light's charging. Here, we're going to go for a ride. Here, I put my hand over the camera lens, try to. we'll go for a little walk. Yep, my UV light is charged. Oh. I'm sitting on an exercise ball to help my core, to work my core while I tie flies, because I have to lose some weight, according to my wife. I'm fat and sassy, and I gotta lose weight. So I'm gonna tie flies on my exercise ball and work my core muscles. Active sitting, isn't that what they call it? And make sure you contact your physician before you start any exercise program. All right, we got some UV flow on there. Now, some people put UV flow and then they turn around on top of the UV flow and put some hard as nails. I never tried that. Don't know if it's necessary, but I might try it. So there we go. I'm going to seal up that thread head. Like I said, I might put a little Sally Henson's on there just for giggles, see what it does. Okay, I've UV'd it. Put that, where do I want to put that? I'll put that there. So there you have it, a red and white hackle fly. Very old pattern. It's a good pattern, catches all kind of fish. Easy to tie, doesn't take that many materials. The flash is optional. You don't even have to put flash in there if you don't want to. I like a little flash. And with these seducers or hackle flies, I have this one tied just feathers and the hook and a little flash. But I tied another one with those real nice feathers I got from Kelly Gallup's fly shop. And this one I put some eyes on. So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see those eyes on there? I put little bead chains on that one just to give a little bit of a jig of motion. So we'll see how that works. Well, those are going to Texas. So I got some more stuff to tie. So let me get to it.